silly with gifts.
Have you heard the hoops that people have to go through to know you? I just heard you on the phone with someone, and you're like, yeah, email me. Actually, email me and then text me that you emailed me, because I don't always check my email. Why can't you just join society?
Why?
Why join society?
Check my email every day just to see the new junk mail that came in.
Delete it. It takes 5 seconds. But there's a lot. I guarantee you I've emailed you. In the time that we've known each other, I've emailed you dozens of times and never heard back. Because you don't check your email.
Well, and neither I do check my email. I don't respond in email. I will text the person or call them in response.
That's infuriating.
Well, I respond by text, or I let them know I got the. Or actually, what happens is like a month goes by and they say, "Did you get my email?" And it usually at the time they're asking me is when I go and check my email.
Right, that's exactly right.
And then I'll wait long enough for me to actually check it, and then I'll say, "Yeah, I got it."
You're what's wrong with the world. You're part of the problem. If you were a story, Brad, what would you be?
Out of the 13 stories?
Out of any story. If you were a story, what would you be?
Failure story? Or no, suffering. The story of suffering. I'm the example of how you persevere through misery.
I am the great escape.
You're trying to escape.
I'm trying to escape.
Yeah, you're the escape story. But you can't. Because I've latched on to you like a leech.
It's an iron fortress.
An iron fortress. Yeah. My misery is a fortress. I just can't
get out of it. I can't get away.
Yeah, because the guilt is the fortress.
It's funny because when you look at me and then look at you, I know I can run faster than you, but I still can't get away. Yeah. Okay, everybody, quiet on the set.
Film Reverie, take 60. I got it right.
And action. Hello, Film Reverie listeners. This is Michael Beckemeyer, and as always, I am joined with
the balding Ewok.
Yes.
Yay.
Yay for Brad. Great.
This is another educational show. In case you're one of those people that I don't want to learn shit right now, and then you can turn us off.
So, we've been going through sort of our, what we think about when we were writing our movie, and we're going to get, further along into the writing process and then the production process and whatever. So, there's stuff we picked up along the way that we've been referring to for basically 20-something years while we've been trying to do this stuff, that we realized that, and we realized that sometimes, maybe not everybody has that stuff. Maybe, so anyway, we do this to say we're not saying this is the only way. This is just our way. This is the sort of our process that we picked up along the way. And today we have an old.
He's not that old.
Old.
He is older than us.
Friend of ours who we've known. He basically, when we went to school, he was the guy that let us make all the mistakes. And learn how to do stuff at school.
Yes.
So he's basically our teacher, mentor for 20-something years now. And are we making you feel important or old enough yet, KOOGE?
Well, let's use the term elder.
Elder. Oh, he's an elder. He's an elder of ours.
Wise. It sounds wiser that way.
He's very sage. He's a sage elder. And so, KOOGE has been on our show before. We talked about, I can't remember what it was. It was episode 3, way back.
Mastery in the Matrix.
Right. So
personal empowerment. But
one of the things we picked up in our writing process is something that he basically created many, many years ago. Basically what he's now calling the 13 master plots, which is in the Hollywood world, in the world of writing and storytelling, and every Hollywood movie falls into some sort of story category.
Yeah. Hollywood has these. I guess KOOGE basically did research the crap out of this and discovered that Hollywood repeats the same 13 stories over and over.
Nowadays, they sort of repeat the same story. It's just Hollywood, just superheroes.
Now, there are a bunch of other matrices out there that. There's one that was 3 and 7 and 12 and 20 and 39 and whatever. There's just a whole bunch of different ones. And KOOGE just recently I guess debunked them.
Yeah. So he went through and so this is his 13 master plots, and we're gonna let him.
We're gonna let him explain
talk.
why the 13 is superior to the others.
KOOGE, tell us a little about yourself first, though. Like, give us the resume.
Okay. Basically, I began as I'm from Harlem, and I began as a community organizer. Then I went to NYU, and I was a student organizer and advocate. We organized freedom rides, for example, down to Alabama to deal with voter resistance 50 years ago this year.
Yes.
Then I went on to NYU, where I studied journalism. And then I went to the National Urban League, where I became a national organizer. But always, I wanted to use my communication skills. So I began putting together videos and slideshows and basically multimedia productions to help with my cause. And then I went to D.C. to work for a think tank. And there I had the opportunity to be an advisor to 5 different presidents. And then after working at the Booker T. Washington Foundation, I began putting together satellite teleconferences. However, I got tired sort of the working on the national level, and I decided I wanted to work on the local level, work directly with young people. So I relocated to Orlando and wound up setting up the Digital Media Arts program and becoming the chairman at Orlando Tech's college. Orlando Tech College, yeah, that's what it's called now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And in the process, I had to put together a curriculum, which brings us to today's topic. And one of the things that I needed to do was to explain stories, because a lot of my students, including you two guys, turns out were writers and aspiring producers and directors. And 2 of the things, you could teach all the technical stuff about television production and digital media production and film production, but it all begins with the story. Basically, digital media production is just another way of telling stories. And to tell stories, you need, first of all, the stories. And second of all, you have to understand the characters. So I developed...
That's going to be another episode.
Yeah, the characters are another episode, yeah.
2 matrices. One, I searched to find out the story plots, because I knew that some of them, obviously Boy Meets Girl, Fish Out of Water, Revenge, etc. And I had heard, as everybody's heard, that there were only so many plots in Hollywood. They just kept redoing them. So I said, okay, let me do some research, now that we didn't have Google back then. Yeah. So
you just had to watch
researched,
movies.
Well, how many plots were there? There weren't a lot of books on it. It was just sort of, depending on who you talk to, they had different number of characters that were a different number of stories. Some people had two stories. Like, one, you go out, you leave town and go on an adventure. And the second story was a stranger comes to town and you have an adventure in your house.
Really?
So 2 was not going to work.
2 was not going to work.
Oh, that's like you go on an adventure or the adventure comes to you. That's like, what is that? Yeah.
Then they had matrices, which were like 7, which were, things like comedies and tragedies. Okay, that's not a story.
Right.
So
those are genres.
I will say that I like that you found the 6-story matrix, and it says it's got rags to riches, riches to rags, man and whole, Icarus, which is like rise then fall. Man in Hole is fall then rise. Cinderella's like rise then fall then rise. So it's interesting, but it's still not enough to cover all the stories.
Yeah.
Right, and not enough to teach.
Oh, and the Oedipus.
There's one that was done over 200 years ago that looked at literature, and it had 36 plots. But that was too much. I mean, they were getting into, well, you killed your stepfather. That's one plot.
That's a plot. What? Okay.
You know, that's a bit too specific.
Yeah.
So basically, I was forced to essentially, I just started with the top 100 movies of all time in the Billboard, and I just put them into categories, sorted them. And then I looked at the top 100 more recently. And basically it came down to there are only 13. And they just kept repeating.
Yeah, we decided we were going to challenge you a little bit today and say, okay, well, where does this movie fit? Because you somehow... this has been like almost 20 years, more than 20 years.
Yeah, it's 94, man.
And
24 years ago.
I've been testing you the whole time about, okay, yeah, but what about this movie? It doesn't fit, and you always figure out a way to where it fits in the 13.
In the 13 stories, yes.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get started. The first one. These aren't in any specific order, right? You just listed them. They're not in any. There's not like one better than the other or anything like that.
No. Actually, on the list that I'm about to publish, they're in alphabetical order.
Oh, alphabetical order. Okay. All right, so the first one here we have is the betrayal story, which is lovers, spouses, friends, or citizens turn on their sibling, former lover, friend, country, etc. for sex, fame, fortune, or power. This story is as old as storytelling, you say. Some of the most popular versions of this betrayal stories are
7 Days in May. What is it? Oh, all the Mission Impossible movies.
The Departed.
Yeah.
Departed.
The
first Iron Man. You can't include all the Iron Man.
What is Iron Man I?
That's one.
Oh.
You don't know what Roman numerals?
I'm just kidding.
Okay. It is weird because you have the number 7 normal and then I for 1.
Lion King, No Way Out, Pirates of the Caribbean, Red Sparrow, which just recently came out, Reservoir Dogs, which is probably my favorite movie on that particular list. And
I'm going to have to challenge you on that because we originally thought Reservoir Dogs was a heist movie, which would fit in the let's plan a big show / heist category.
However, before he even speaks, his own list convinced me.
Oh.
Because while Reservoir Dogs' premise is a heist, the core of the story and the resolution comes from a betrayal.
That is true. So we just explained it for him. Okay, we don't need you, Kuj.
No. How did I do, Kuj? Was that right?
This is the point. Many stories will have multiple.
Yes.
Many movies will have multiple stories in them. So the test that I apply, and before I put it in the category, is what is the driving story that for the whole movie. It is a big heist, but that's not what's driving the movie. What's driving the suspense is the betrayal.
Right. And also when that dude cuts his ear off, Mr. Blonde.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's pretty suspenseful. I'm like, is he really going to do that?
So, real quick, speaking about the multiple ones, let's talk about Pulp Fiction later. Let's get through some of these, and then we'll talk about how we think Pulp Fiction is like.
Yeah, movies that don't quite fit. Yeah. The boy or girl meets boy or girl love story.
Yeah, it used to be boy meets girl, but now we're politically correct, so it's like boy meets boy.
And rightly so, because it can be girl meets girl or boy meets boy.
Nowadays,
Have you seen Love, Simon?
Or it's always been that way. But
yeah.
What? No, I have not.
It's a good movie. So boy or girl meets boy or girl loses the same and may or may not get same back. The Cinderella story is as old as sex.
I guess sex is old.
It's intriguing. Even if the sex changes or the subject and object of desire reverse roles, the venue can be huge, such as Titanic. The story bloody, such as True Romance, or the Sex forbidden, boys on the side, the relationship. Complicated, but there is no mistake. No mistaking a story given by love. Some of the most popular versions of mystery suspense stories are
American President, An Officer and a Gentleman.
Oh, as good as it gets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beauty and the Beast.
Casablanca, Crazy Rich Asians, which was good.
Oh, that just came out.
Yeah, Crazy Rich Asians, which Brad wouldn't go see, by the way.
Oh, really? Why not?
Why not, Brad?
I didn't protest it. I just thought.
Yeah, you did. We did a whole show about it on the other podcast.
Thought it was gonna be lame, but it turned out to be better than I thought it would be. So
yeah, it was actually great.
It's great. It's great.
It's actually great.
KOOGE, wasn't that wedding scene like the most beautiful wedding scene you've ever seen in a movie? Yeah. It really was.
It's almost a fish out of water story.
Yes.
It's however, I put it in Boy Meets Girl because that's what's driving the movie. But what's fascinating is seeing the Boy Meets Girl story in another culture.
Yeah.
So the things that you're seeing are normal, but in that culture, which is things you see things in that movie you have never seen before in a movie.
Yeah.
Such as an Asian bachelor party on a tanker.
Yeah, on a tanker. Yeah, Crazy Rich. Yeah.
Right. Or a wedding where you walk down the aisle as they flood the aisle with water. I mean,
what?
Just images you've never seen.
Beautiful. I mean, it's very well shot. Cinematography is beautiful in that movie. Okay, other examples of The Boy Meets Girl are great movie, True Romance, When Harry Met Sally.
Pretty Woman is a classic.
Pretty Woman.
And one you might not think about, but Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Yeah.
That was all about everyone, like all the girls were like...
7 X's.
Yeah, that was great. But it was all about Boy Meets Girl. And Girl Meets Girl, too.
Yeah. Okay, number 3, we got The Escape or Chase Story, which is the victim escapes prison or eludes capture, often behind enemy lines or space itself. The story is old as war, slavery, or space travel. What are some of these, KOOGE?
Well, of course, you got Alien and Aliens.
Yeah.
You have, and I only consider Alien and Aliens part of the series. I don't count anything else.
I agree.
Except for
Prometheus.
That can stand on.
Yeah, I guess comes on later. The Frankenstein.
Yeah. They changed the movie from an escape movie to a Frankenstein movie.
Yeah.
Because they just ran out of ideas.
Yeah.
Children of Men, Country for Old Men, The Fugitive. One of the most recent, of course, Get Out and Gravity.
Hold on. Get Out is an escape movie? That's a perfect title. Get Out. That's a great movie.
Yeah. And, one of the first ones that really got my attention was Invasions of the Body Snatchers.
Yeah.
The original.
Yeah.
And, of course, Jaws.
Yeah.
Which,
a lot of horror movies in general.
But when Jaws came out that summer, it scared people out of the water.
To this day, people still won't go in there. If I step in the ocean and feel anything, I am like heart stopped. My heart is stopped.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, Jaws is like, it's visceral, man. 30, 40 years later? Was it 40 years old now? Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah. Okay, so that was the escape. All right, so fish out of water story, which is what? Person confronts new circumstances and adjusts to new values, lifestyle, or attitudes.
So I guess like road trip movies, time travel movies, role reversal. I guess like would Parent Trap movies fit in there?
Parent Trap would be fish out of water, I think. Don't you think, KOOGE?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Role reversals are the ones where like people magically, like the daughter exchanges bodies with their mother. So the daughter's the mother.
Freaky Friday.
Freaky Friday. That's what I was trying to think of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or Big. Big is one.
Big is a great one.
In fact, as KOOGE stated earlier, I believe that most of the movies, most of Hollywood's biggest movies are fish out of water stories. Like Borat, everyone, I can't go a couple months without hearing someone do a Borat impression. Country for Old Men. I don't even remember Dave. I saw it, but I don't remember.
Dave, the guy.
Is the president?
Yeah, the president goes into a coma or something.
Oh, he was an actor that looked like the president.
He looks just like him, so they hire him to be the president.
Yeah. So E.T., The Fly.
I'll take Country for Old Men out. That's more
didn't
of a
you
chase
have that
movie.
before?
That's more of a chase movie.
I was going to say that was up above. Yeah. We can edit that out.
Yeah, KOOGE is always working on his list. Yeah, working on his list.
Yeah.
We're looking at the Google Doc right now. It's making changes as we talk.
Yeah. So we'll have to take out where I said Country for Old Men.
Liar, Liar, Miss Doubtfire. Those are Liar, Liar, Miss Doubtfire. Forrest Gump is probably my favorite movie of all time. It's fish out of water.
Mask. A lot of Jim Carrey movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Time Cop. Oh, you've also included bad movies on here. Time Cop. Is there a category just for the bad story?
By the way, yeah, that's the 14th.
That the 14th story is the bad story.
Any story can be done well or bad. The criteria for making the list is it made money.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to make a judgment on whether Borat was a good or a bad movie, but people went to see it.
Yeah. Well, I thought Borat was funny. I know how it annoys people.
Yeah, it's not a great movie, but it's hilarious.
Yeah. So Brad was saying The Shape of Water is a fish out of water story, but it's also
because it's a fish man coming out of the water.
Yeah. It's probably also the best recent example.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Literally.
And Splashes as well. Now, but Shape Out of Water story again is a movie.
Shape
you
Out of
could
Water.
look at Boy
Boy Meets Girl.
Boy Meets Girl.
For me, it's always boy versus girl. It's never.
But for you, it's Boy Never Meets Girl.
Right. Like one of the stories later on is a success story. And I remember Mike, when he was first starting to write, KOOGE was like, okay, what kind of story is it you're writing? And is it a success story? And then Mike said, no, it's a failure story. and I see how you've added failure. So now it's a success / failure story.
Yeah, that's my contribution to the list.
So I'm adding man never
meets girl.
Because that's my story.
Or it could be, with Splash, it could be man meets fish.
Man meets fish out of water.
That's probably the only way out.
Or girl meets fish.
Girl meets fish, yeah.
Girl meets fish, yeah.
Yeah.
Shape of Water.
Oh, right.
Yeah. All right, so number 5. The Frankenstein story, which is also called Man Plays God.
Yeah, when you add Man Plays God, then it makes more sense. Other movies make more sense.
So man creates life, and that life becomes a monster and destroys man. The moral is that man should not play God. Many believe Mary Shelley invented the Frankenstein story, which she published anonymously in 1818. Which, by the way, KOOGE, that's an interesting fact. I didn't know she published that anonymously.
Those days, women were not taken seriously as writers. So that's the reason she and her husband was actually a famous writer.
Oh,
so
interesting.
Taken seriously, she knew the process, but she couldn't use her name.
Uh-huh. Interesting.
We never would have heard of the I mean, she almost invented the Frankenstein story, but not really, because there was Prometheus.
That's a Greek
which was
myth,
also
right?
Man Plays God, which was a Greek myth in which Prometheus went up to heaven and stole fire and gave it to man. Obviously, that made Prometheus look like a god to man.
So, right, I mean, even the movie Prometheus follows that. I mean, man makes robot, and robot plays God.
Yeah. What'd you say, Kuj?
That's why it's called Prometheus, the alien movie. Because the alien in, the villain in Alien is a robot made by man.
Yes.
Who revolts against his creators and just uses alien DNA to create more monsters. Prometheus.
What a dick. So some examples of the Frankenstein story are, here's a shocker, Frankenstein. Something called Heavy Metal, which Brad actually...
Is that the animated movie?
Is that the animated one, Kuj?
Yes.
Yes.
That's like 3 different stories in one. That one's real weird.
The Invisible Man, Jurassic Park, of course, is probably the most famous one on your list. Oh, other than Frankenstein. But Jurassic Park is definitely classic man playing God, creating something that gets out of hand.
Right.
So, yeah, okay. Number 6.
Species, like any movie where the humans have to take the alien DNA and merge it to like with some human DNAs. Mm-hmm. There's been a lot of that. Movie's been told over and over again.
Yeah.
Van Helsing. Go ahead.
The main story is that man is worried about garbage. I mean, man is worried about nuclear weapons, but nuclear weapons don't wind up being the villain, but it becomes garbage. And then garbage becomes a monster. So, Frankenstein again.
Right.
Number 6. The Good versus Evil War is Hell story.
So it used to be just War is Hell, but recently we've combined it to be Good versus Evil as well, because it makes more sense. It answers a lot of those questions I used to pummel you with. What about this story? What about it? Well, if you just make it Good versus Evil, which basically KOOGE argues war is good versus evil, like, World War II, fighting the Nazis. Right.
Right, but okay, so here's what you have written. The Good versus Evil storyline inevitably involves war. After all, one cannot negotiate a compromise with true evil without enabling it and being corrupted by it. This is why defining you, an adversary, as evil historically always leads to war. The problem, of course, is that we all know war is hell. Usually, at least in Hollywood, the good guys win, or at least teach the bad guys a lesson, although at a great cost. Here's the thing, though, KOOGE. I look at this and I think, but not all good versus evil stories are war is hell stories. Like Star Wars, like A New Hope is good versus evil, but not necessarily a war story. Or war is hell, I mean.
Yeah, well, they do have to go to war.
This is what we're talking about, where KOOGE is never stumped. Yeah, well, they do have to go to war. Yeah, but they don't really go to... But it's not a war is hell.
Look at that, for example, even in looking at the political landscape today, you have a lot of your politicians calling the political opposition evil.
Right.
Which, once you have described your enemy as evil, you can't negotiate with them. You can't compromise with them. You have to go to war.
Right.
And, I mean, just this week, the president said, well, we're going to go to war with the political party.
Yeah, with CNN. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But because once you throw in evil, it's war.
Yeah, but Star Wars... A New Hope, for instance, is not... So is Star Wars on the list of good versus evil? Good versus evil is Star Wars is a good versus evil.
Yeah, it's right here.
So, but it's not a war is hell. Like, I think, when I think of war is hell, maybe I need clarification.
I think it doesn't have
war
to be
is hell, I think of, like, Saving Private Ryan, which is, for me, the definitive war is hell story of my, like, younger, in the last 20 years. It's like nothing like that ever came out that convinced me more that war is hell. But Star Wars doesn't have those, like, gritty, ugly war is hell stories. Like, so am I taking the hell part too literally, or?
Well, this is the deal. The consequence of a good versus evil story, if evil wins, hell prevails.
Okay.
So, for example, in A New Hope, if they hadn't won, what would have happened? We would have had tyranny throughout the universe, oppression, slavery, torture.
Yeah. Wonder Woman fits in there. I'm looking at, you got Superman and the Matrix in there. How is Superman? I could see how it's good versus evil.
But how it is at war as hell?
Well, remember his confrontation with the general. What was his name?
Zod.
Mm-hmm. You know, that was a hell of a battle.
Isn't that Superman 2, though?
But that's good versus evil.
Yeah. Well, but they went to war. Remember, he went to the White House and told the president to kneel.
Okay,
this is Superman. That is never going
this
to
is
stop
Superman
circling.
2, by the way, not the original Superman.
Oh, okay. I'm talking about... I thought we were talking about Man of Steel from a few years ago.
Oh. No, it would say Man of Steel. That was...
Because he killed...
That was a war movie. Yeah, Man of Steel is definitely good versus evil.
Yeah.
What do you call it? War as hell. What about... Well, Matrix, I guess, fits, because... but I almost look at Matrix as the man plays God and the Frankenstein, because the computers are, have taken over. But then ultimately it's war. Like 3, it's war. 2, it's war.
Yeah.
I guess, is it all? I guess it all is good versus evil in the war, just like Star Wars would be.
Yeah. The Matrix. I mean, it's arguable that the Matrix is a Frankenstein movie. Yeah. I mean, I couldn't say it's not, because it is.
Yeah.
It's just like the Terminator is a Frankenstein movie. The enemy is artificial intelligence, but the artificial intelligence was created by man.
So, okay, KOOGE, where does Harry Potter fit into the... Is Harry Potter...
good versus evil.
Good versus evil? Okay, you just don't have it on the list. Okay, so...
Right.
Because they do eventually go to war.
Right.
In the overarching story of the 7 books, at least, not necessarily.
Right.
Yes.
First Harry Potter movie
is Fish Out of Water.
Fish Out of Water all the way.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's why I didn't put Harry Potter in, because different stories, depending on which chapter you meet. Like, some are rescue stories.
Yeah.
Some are revenge stories. And, the last chapter is war, and the first chapter is Fish Out of Water.
Right. So if you use the Harry Potter version, there's only 7 stories to tell. And your list is wrong, KOOGE. I'm just kidding. All right, so next.
The God story, which, by the way, I just want to stress, even though on the list we have mostly Christian God movies, it's any, whatever your religion is, whatever your God is, that's, that would be the God story, the story of your God.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a God story. God creates heaven, earth, and man, and then man screws it up, of course.
Yeah.
God sends messages and messengers and signs to teach decency, peace, and love, or just scare the living hell out of ungrateful sinners.
That's you, Brad. That's you.
Yes.
Yeah. Such as... KOOGE.
Yeah. Go ahead, KOOGE.
Oh, the greatest story ever told, Jesus Christ Superstar, King of Kings, Noah's Ark most recently, even Oh God. And if you think about it, Oh God is not really a Christian movie.
Yeah.
Because when he's asked, is Jesus the Son of God, he says, yes, but so is Moses and so is Buddha.
Yeah.
So, of course, the Ten Commandments is,
the pinnacle.
One of the most powerful God stories. As far as I'm concerned, that's the number one God story ever made. I remember as a child watching Ten Commandments and coming out of the movie and saying, how could there be evil in the world if people saw that movie?
Because opinions are facts.
Because one,
right.
You know what God's going to do. And you know the rules. So, and this is like, I thought it was like history for the longest amount of time.
Would you call The Last Temptation of Christ a God movie? Have you seen it, Kuj?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I would call that a God movie.
Even though it's controversial, it's still God coming to be crucified. Jesus.
Right.
God
I
sending
mean,
his
it's
son to be
still
crucified.
God.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ in that movie is God.
Yeah. So what's a God story that is not the Christian God? Let's see if we can come up with one.
What about
in
the
addition to Oh God?
what about the Evan Almighty, or the one with Jim Carrey where he became God for a few
Those
days?
are still just Christian God, though. There's still just
Not
a Christian
really.
God.
No, that's not a Christian God.
Yeah, he didn't say.
Yeah,
They're quoting the Bible and stuff.
That's an all-powerful God. That's not Jesus' God.
That's what I didn't take it as. Now, the one with Noah's Ark was definitely.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So next is Let's Plan a
One
Big Show.
with Noah's Ark was not Jesus' God either. That's the old God. Before Jesus.
Right. It was Old Testament God.
Old Testament God.
Yeah.
That's the word.
Fire and brimstone God.
Yeah, the elder. Yeah.
The elder God. Which sounds like something from the Lord of Rings. Elder God.
So this next one, it used to be Let's Plan a Big Show, but there's so many heist movies lately. I petitioned to have it to be Let's Plan a Big Show / heist story.
So for instance then, Run a Big Race, Rob a Big Bank.
Yeah.
Oh, these are just examples of
Fight
things,
a big fight.
Yeah.
Run a big scam.
So, Kuj.
Or have a big party.
So what is it about a heist movie that makes it like Let's Plan a Big Show?
Is
what are
it
the elements?
ensemble cast, maybe?
Is it because they're planning something that they have to pull off in the end?
Right. It's basically like if you focus on a movie, I'll take the last one, The Sting.
Okay.
It involves multiple casts and a big event. In fact, in Hollywood, I didn't put on the list, but I should have put on the list any Judy Garland, Mickey Rooney show, because they did a whole series of movies where their mother or somebody was dying of brain cancer and they needed money to have an operation, and somebody says, I have an idea. What? Well, we'll plan a big show, and then you provide the talent, and then you'll provide the stage, and you'll provide this, and you'll provide that. And it's like a musical. And they did that movie at least 20, 30 times.
All the Muppet movies are always
right. They're derivatives of us. Let's plan a big show. The show's a success. And like the Pitch movies, or the latest probably.
You mean the Pitch
Perfect?
Pitch
There's
Perfect.
a new one coming out in a few weeks where the woman's husbands are robbers and they steal $2 million.
Widows, yeah. Widows.
Yeah, and widows, right. And they have to plan a big heist.
So you have on this list, you have things like Karate Kid and Rocky.
Right.
And Searching for Bobby Fischer.
I don't think Searching for Bobby Fischer fits under Let's Plan.
Well, is it just the element of building towards
all
something in the
those
end?
movies lead to the end.
To the event
a
at
show
the end.
or a contest.
Okay.
Or a event. They're building to that event. The resolution, like for example, it's forcing the narrative. A little boy is being beat up by bullies. In the real world, the solution isn't to plan a big show. But in the context of that plot, it's that's where it's going. So it has to be, okay, no, you're not going to go knock the guy out. You're going to go to a legal format, train yourself. Really, he's trained in mastery. Quiet as is kept. In other words, it's not just fighting, but to be a master. Because the other guys that he's fighting are trained in fighting. In fact, street fighting. But they're not being trained in mastery.
Right.
So they're just trying. They're being taught to win at all costs, as opposed to he who's being taught to win, but not to do as least harm as you can. That's why he's in the contest.
So
otherwise he could just, meet him in an alley and beat him up.
Yeah. I probably would have put Karate Kid in Good versus Evil. Like, without thinking about it, because it is the good guys against the bad guys the whole time. The bullies picking them. Yeah. But you're right about the, Rocky and Karate Kid are basically kind of the same movie.
Yes.
In fact, the first Rocky, I think the first Rocky and the first, not the first Rocky, the Karate Kid is directed by somebody who did subsequent Rocky movies.
Right. It's the same plot. It is the identical plot. In fact, it's the identical plot. What are they on? Rocky 8?
Now
it's Creed, not Rocky.
I do love the way they twisted that, though. Did you see Creed?
Yes.
Great movie. Totally just... And it's the same story, but the way they flipped it and made it new, even though it was the same, it just was great. I just thought it was great.
Well, they turned it into a black movie.
Yeah. Which is also, in the year 20 whatever, I guess it's still pretty bold to do, because just up until a couple of years ago, people were like, black movies won't sell tickets. Like Straight Outta Compton, which was nominated for Academy Awards, the main hurdle they had to get through to get that movie made is that the studio wasn't convinced a black audience would turn out to see Straight Outta Compton. And they're like, are you crazy?
Or they weren't convinced that a white audience they would have crossover.
Right, and they did.
Which you did. And that's the reason that the Panther movie was one of the last superheroes. And also the women superhero movies. They're just producing now the standalone woman superhero movies.
Yes.
And the standalone black superhero movies, because they didn't believe that women would go to see a woman superheroes. I mean, not that women wouldn't, but that everybody wouldn't.
Yeah.
Or that everybody would go to see a movie with just black characters.
Yeah.
Sort of like the people that didn't go to see Crazy Rich Asian People.
Yeah, right, Brad.
I'm racist now? Okay.
And it's I wouldn't even say it's racist. It's just outside of the comfort zone.
Yeah.
Of the audience.
That's a nice way of saying it.
It's just like I think one of the best movies ever made was Malcolm X.
Yes.
And anybody that went to see that, it's not an anti-white movie.
Yes.
But everybody that, especially white people that didn't go to see it, will swear it's an anti-white movie, and they don't want to be uncomfortable.
Well,
especially in a theater full of black people.
There were Time magazine covers with Spike Lee doing the Malcolm X pose, and the headline was "Spike Lee hates your cracker ass." So
yes.
I'm not sure. I own that magazine somewhere because I thought it was hilarious.
It was, yes, and that's how it was promoted.
Yeah, and
he didn't put that cover together, but he liked it.
Yeah, he liked it. Yeah.
So the marketing of that movie killed the movie.
Yeah, and he had to beg, borrow, and steal just to get it made. He had the who's who in Hollywood, including people who shall not be named these days, like Bill Cosby, giving him $1 million here, $1 million there, just to get the movie shot.
Well, there's a very fabulous story. Let me see if I can tell it quickly. To produce a movie, you have to have a bond, what's called a completion bond.
Yes.
What the completion bond means is that the studio is giving you a budget, and they have accountants on set keeping track of every penny you spend every day. And if you go over budget, they have the right to take over the movie, the creative control of the movie. So one day they said to him, and he knew it was coming, that Spike Lee, that he was going to go over budget. By this weekend, you'll be out of your budget. And he was producing a 3-hour movie.
Yeah, a dramatic epic.
So he said, look, we're going to take it over on Monday morning and cut it to a 90-minute movie, and made it a lot more commercial.
Yeah.
So he shot to, I think, midnight on Friday. And then he spent the weekend calling up Bill Cosby, Oprah, his friends. So on Monday morning, when they showed up they already had a it's called a house director. That doesn't have any, he just does what the studios tell him to do.
Just a yes man, yep.
Yeah, yes man. Just cut that movie to 90 minutes, get it off, and, don't offend too many white folks. So, but he says he gave back his percentage of the movie, and he had the money to continue closing the movie. That's how that movie got made.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then got snubbed at the Oscars.
Yes.
Yeah, I can't remember. I can't remember what movie won that year. I just remember which movie lost, and it was Malcolm X.
Yes.
Yeah. Number 9, the mystery/enigma story. The mystery-enigma story usually often involves a murder or at least a death that puts the investigator's life at risk. Another story as old as storytelling. So, such as Chinatown, which is probably it's in there my top 5 movies ever.
We're naming a lot of movies that the younger generation won't know who we're talking about.
Stop saying things like younger generation, Brad. You sound as old as you are.
Oh, sorry. Born Identity. Yeah, I guess any Born Identity movie.
Yeah. Is 7 on this list?
No, but 7 could be.
Yes.
7 could be.
Yeah.
So, Da Vinci Code, Fargo, which is one of my favorite all-time movies.
Is
it all the girl with the dragon tattoo movies? KOOGE?
I don't know what the new one is about, but the girl with the dragon tattoo was an enigma.
Yeah.
I mean, they were trying to figure out a puzzle.
Right. So could you just call this the mystery? Like the murder mystery or the mystery?
Or a murder mystery. It was a murder mystery. See, it's a combination of a murder mystery and an enigma. Okay. Most murder mysteries are enigmas, but then you have some that are pure enigmas.
Well, Usual Suspects, that's just a pure enigma, right?
Right. What'd you say?
He said Da Vinci Code.
Yeah, what did you say?
I'm saying Usual Suspects. I don't remember it being about, some people got killed, but it was just about who's the bad guy.
Well, I still believe that was a betrayal movie.
Usual Suspects. Yeah.
But yes. Because see, at the end of that movie, if you think about it, nothing that you saw was correct. It was all a lie.
Yeah, it was all a lie. Totally.
So it wasn't like let's say a Sherlock Holmes where you're really trying to figure out the clues. Nothing was a clue. It was all a distraction.
Yes.
It's
an illusion. Yeah.
Right.
So
if anything, it was an escape movie. He had to get out of that office so he could fade back in.
That's true.
To the, so I mean.
So where does it fit?
So where does it fit?
Where does it go?
Yeah, I think the overriding thing compelling that movie is betrayal.
Yeah.
So that makes sense to me because he betrayed everyone ultimately.
He was lying from the start. He was lying when he first met them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's I think it's sort of both. I think it's because it's a mystery all the way through.
one of the best
Yeah.
plot twists ever.
And then
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a mystery. Yeah. Yeah, it is a mystery. Yeah.
Yeah, and thank you for including my favorite Alfred Hitchcock movie, Vertigo. That is the best. In my opinion, he was firing on all cylinders in that movie. He's firing on all cylinders in a lot of his movies, but something about Vertigo was so dark and macabre, but also at the same time mysterious, and it was just. And you're right, like an enigma, because it was like there's something almost supernatural going on for a good portion of the movie, which is later revealed, one way or the other.
Right.
Which I don't want to spoil it for anybody who hasn't seen a movie made before the 1990s. Okay, so next, now that we talked about Vertigo for 10 minutes.
Kuja's favorite story, I believe, the rescue story.
Good guys, male or females, rescue damsel, town, country, the planet, space station, or universe in distress. Some of the most popular versions are what?
Armageddon.
KOOGE.
Armageddon, Captain Phillips, Ghosts.
Yeah.
Escape from New York, Finding Dory. Now, I put Saving Private Ryan in this group.
Oh.
I understand how
Even
you think
it's war as hell.
Well, you're right.
It's war as hell because
it is what's driving the narrative is the rescue.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that team. The team. It's like a movie within a movie. The movie is World War II, but the story is rescuing Private Ryan from World War II, and Private Ryan does not want to leave the war movie to participate in the rescue.
Right, he doesn't want to leave the war movie. No, I'm enjoying my war as hell story. Perfectly fine.
Yeah, right. I'm in the war as hell story. So first, let's finish this battle, and then we can get back to the rescue story.
Ugh, it's so good. The movie is
So
one of the classics again before your time is The Searchers.
Yes.
That's a John Wayne movie.
You could even troll us because I don't think I've seen The Searchers.
Yeah, I haven't.
Yeah. So
The Searchers is a John Wayne movie where the Indians kidnap the wife and daughter and girlfriend or something, and of course the Indians turn them into wives and brainwash them. So what really makes it tense is when they rescue them, is John Wayne going to rescue her or kill her? Because, but of course we know it's a John Wayne movie, so we know it's going to happen. But his whole movie, he's saying, well, yeah, I got to rescue her, but I got to kill her.
Yeah.
And of course he brings his sons with him who are, there may or may not be a confrontation between them if he goes to kill the white woman who has been going native, more than likely. So, but it's considered a Western classic.
Real quick, we were talking the other day. Do all the superhero movies fit under rescue, or were they something else?
Well, most of them are rescue, but for example, Black Panther is not a rescue movie. It is and it's not even a war movie. It's a success story.
Okay, explain.
Well, they are not, it might have a betrayal element in it as well.
It does.
Or revenge, but most of the movies up until Black Panther were in fact rescue movies. They were rescuing the world.
Is that like Avengers?
A super villain.
The problem is those movies is they keep having to the doom and gloom has to get bigger and better, and they have to keep topping themselves every time, and it's like, how many more times can you save the universe before it gets boring? So
they fought God at this point.
I am glad that they started to spin off in other things. Like Infinity War was great. I really did like Infinity War, but Black Panther is different. Ant-Man is different. Ant-Man's like a heist movie.
Yeah,
it's playing a big show.
Right. Yeah. But yes, because and you are exactly right that think about this. Every villain has gotten stronger more powerful and more powerful and more powerful. The current villain, even in Infinity, is as powerful as God. He can reverse time. I mean, and stop time. And, so what happens after that? Who's going to, a villain that shows up next that can only like punch people around? What does it mean?
Yeah,
so they were running out of ideas. Whereas Black Panther is basically biblical. It goes back to the biblical brother against brother struggle. And but it doesn't take you to exactly to war like you think it's going to, because there's a forgiveness element in it. I'm trying not to reveal the story, but it's an enlightenment movie. The Black Panther has to become enlightened. Is the whole point of the story.
Yeah.
And to, in fact, help the world.
Yeah.
That's where the story is going all the time. But it's not. It starts out, looks like it's going to be let's just have our superhero confront their superhero. But it's much deeper, much deeper.
But one of the interesting, on the rescue story, you have a couple of other movies, but just like every Taken movie is, I mean, obviously, is
he's got a special set of skills, and they are only for rescuing.
Yeah. But you also have Toy Story here as well.
The original.
The original. And then you have, you got to try and keep it quick if you can, but you got to tell us real quick about the subgenre of rescue story, which is the Die Hard story.
Yeah, let me give you the short version. Essentially, Die Hard is a rescue movie, but they came up with a formula in the original Die Hard movie. They included the smart-ass hero, the super bad villain. I mean, Die Hard means that it's hard to kill this guy. In fact, you got to kill him twice. He always dies twice in a Die Hard movie. The villain is so smart, he's figured out what all the good guys are going to do. But he hasn't taken into consideration that there is a loose cannon on the ship.
A barefoot wise ass.
Who doesn't follow the rule book. See, he knows what the rules are, and he assumes the good guys are going to follow the rules. But there's somebody in the mix that doesn't follow the rules, so he can't have prepared for it. And he's got to think on his feet.
Yeah.
And, of course, there's always a hostage situation where they just can't send in the cavalry. That person has to outwit or use local resources. Like, he's got to MacGyver his way out of this situation. And, of course, the villain's got to die, because this villain, a Die Hard villain, is so bad that if you captured him, he'd just get out and do it again.
Yeah.
But you've got Die Hard on a bus, Die Hard on Air Force One, Die Hard in the Alps, Die Hard on 747.
Die Hard in the Alps.
Oh, Passenger 57, that's Die Hard on a plane.
Is Die Hard in the Alps when Die Hard goes on vacation?
That's Cliffhanger. That's the movie Cliffhanger, where they're, again, nobody can rescue them. They're trapped.
Die Hard in the Florida Keys.
Where's that?
True Lies.
Oh.
Yeah.
My favorite one is still Air Force One.
Die Hard on a plane, basically.
Yeah. Die Hard on Air Force One.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you like that better than Die Hard itself.
This is the irony. The only person that doesn't produce Die Hard movies is Die Hard itself. For some reason, I can't figure it out, they invented the formula, and then they keep trying to break the formula every time. Now they got Die Hard traveling to Russia, Die Hard driving the highways.
They have PG-13 Die Hard, which is a lot less interesting.
Yeah. And you were talking about how now one of the last couple of movies he was killing a plane with the car.
They turned him into, he was a Joker character.
Yeah.
Where, thought on his feet. Then they turned him into a superhero. But a superstar doesn't work for me as a diehard movie. Because, superstars just basically, they don't need to outthink things. They just physically do things that are they're like superheroes without superpower.
So, number 11 is the revenge story, which generally involves a person, spouse, or family members who gets cheated on, stabbed in the back, raped, robbed, humiliated, or almost killed, then gets even. Such as...
What, Ben-Hur?
Oh, Cape Fear.
That's
the one.
Your favorite.
That's it. We don't need to put anything else on this list.
Carrie.
Oh, but you got Kill Bill down there, so
Dark
we'll talk
Knight
about
Rises.
that.
Death Wish, obviously. Yeah. Desperado. A lot of my favorite movies. I do love revenge movies.
Yeah.
How is Memento a revenge movie? He's got to remember that he's mad at someone.
See.
Yeah. But isn't? Let's think about it. Isn't Memento also possibly an enigma because he's also a mystery? Because he's like a reverse mystery, trying to figure it out.
Right, maybe.
Yeah. I think I'll go with that. Let me take it off of this list.
He let us be right for a
second. You won!
Yeah. It is a revenge movie, obviously.
Right.
But it's really an enigma.
Yeah.
It's set up as an enigma.
So Unforgiven is a great version of the revenge story. Yeah. Great version of the revenge story.
By the way, Unforgiven. I don't like Westerns, but God, Unforgiven is a great movie.
Good Westerns are some of the best movies ever, but like bad Westerns are just like every other movie that shouldn't have been made.
Yeah.
Skyfall is a great...
Skyfall, yeah.
Great, awesome. So, revenge. Somebody's trying to get somebody back. That's self-explanatory. So this
hey, would John Wick, would that fit under the revenge? Because because they killed his dog. So he's got to kill everyone.
Yes. Definitely.
I felt that movie so much.
I
would so murder the planet if someone killed my dog.
So, number 12 here, we got The Seduction, which is the seduction story. Usually a man and a woman pursuing a dangerous obsession beyond reason or logic. So
I feel like this is like number 2 or number 3 in Hollywood's most made movie.
So you have movies like 9.5 Weeks, Basic Instinct, which is probably the most iconic one, but also Body Heat, which was a great thriller also at the same time.
Right.
There's a typo in your thing that says Eyes Wired Shut.
Yeah, I'm going to change that.
Which is Eyes Wide Shut. Fatal Attraction. Oh my God, these are some great movies you have on here. The Firm, of course.
It's interesting that now that I see it makes sense, but Dracula. It's almost, I feel like most vampire movies are seduction in a way, because vampires are always made to be sexual and
seductive so that they can lure people in. Yeah,
they have this magical power to make you do what they want.
Because who in their right mind would actually want their blood sucked and to be converted into a... Yeah.
It's interesting you have The Firm on here, so he was seduced by money.
Money, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. The Piano is a great one. There's some great... You got a good list here on the seduction, man.
And let me return to Dracula a second. Dracula has always been a euphemism for seduction, sexual seduction. However, when it became popular, they couldn't make it obvious. So, but if you looking back now, you realize he's always seducing the woman. He's not capturing women and just raping them. He is seducing them and treating them with class and charm.
Yeah, he's luring
Dracula is always he's a charmer.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of vampire movies.
Yeah.
They all do that.
So, 13th story here, we finally made it.
Yay!
The success or failure journey in business, love, or the battle of the human spirit against all odds. Success or failure journey tells the story of a spectacular success or failure of a life, mission, or journey of self-discovery, usually against incredible odds with unbelievable strength, courage, or balls.
So coming-of-age movies would fit here,
I
guess.
Yeah, coming of age, okay. So movies you have here: Black Panther, Citizen Kane. Kuja's favorite movie.
It's my favorite movie.
No. Kuj loves this movie. He thinks it's the best movie ever.
It's close. I love that movie.
I'm just joking because he.
Citizen Kane is 2.
You're
Casablanca
right.
is
I
1.
know.
Right.
I was teasing.
I taught a class on Citizen Kane. I love that.
Easy Rider, The Godfather, of course. All the Indiana Jones movies.
Hidden Figures. Yeah.
Hidden Figures was great. Stand By Me, Miracle on 34th Street. Would you call
True Grit?
hold on, is I would say probably for me the shining example of the success, like you said, the triumph of the human spirit. It's a Wonderful Life.
But for sci-fi, you got Stargate, which is interesting. I have to think about that, how that fits.
Top Gun.
Up. I
Up
definitely agree.
Up is great.
How Wall Street is a little weird because that's like greed and it's a guy that's corrupted, seduced, and then he.
Yeah, but he sort of fails at the end.
Yeah, it's a failure movie.
Yeah.
And okay, there we go. See, now it makes sense.
Wizard of Oz. Yeah. What about Kuj? What about
Oh, you know what else is a failure movie? American Beauty.
Yeah,
you learn.
Kuj hates that movie.
I know. But I love the movie because everyone's toxic.
Yeah.
But you see what made them toxic and how and where it led them. So you know, okay, let me not do those things. But it's also beautiful.
You know what else needs to be on your list here, Kuj, is Wolf of Wall Street.
It should be. It was. Let me put that in there. Yes.
Okay.
Somehow that got taken off, but no question, Wolf of Wall Street. Even more than Wall Street.
So that is that is Kuj's, our conversation on the 13 stories in Hollywood. What did you call them? The 13
master plots.
Master plots. That's a great name. And so we're gonna. Am I right? We're gonna make this available as a download on our thing.
I'm gonna put this document up. Just put in your email address, and we will send you this document so you can have it yourself, and you can add your own movies to it.
Yeah.
And also, please, prove us wrong. Email us, message us, argue with us about us. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, whatever. Tell us how we're wrong, because we want to discuss this stuff. We want to get a conversation going. So please yell at us, whatever.
Yeah. So all you got to do to get this and the other handouts we've made available so far through this little mini-series we're doing here is go to our website, sign up for the mailing list, and you'll get a link to download all this stuff.
FilmReverie.com.
FilmReverie.com.
That's film, Reverie.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's it. So we will see you next time if you want to contact us. We are
I'm Matt Balding,
FilmReveriePodcast@gmail.com. I'm Becca Meyer on Twitter and Instagram. And he's Balding Ewok.
Right.
Kuj, where do people find you? You spend a lot of time on Facebook. Are you on Twitter?
Right. Find me on Facebook, Kujaatele, Kweli.
Oh, yeah. We'll put a link to that.
I'll have the link. Yeah.
We'll put a link to
There's
that.
like 2 A's in there, and it's,
Okay, that's it for this week. Kuj, we thank you for coming on our show and talking to us about this stuff, and we thank you ultimately for teaching us this stuff for way back in the day. I guess we could say thank you for letting us be your guinea pigs, because you were figuring out while you so I didn't realize that's what was happening. But no, it's been good. I have referred to this stuff for 20 years, for 20 plus years.
Yeah.
So
well, thank you for being my guinea pigs.
Yeah.
And yes. It is. I definitely had, when I walked into the classroom, imposter syndrome.
Oh yeah.
Which is, can I pull this off?
Yeah.
Because I hadn't figured it all out yet. But thank you for helping me, because you forced me to by asking tough questions.
The wise ass kid questions.
That's my job.
Yeah.
Yes.
I want to ruin everything.
That's hold on. That's the Brad version of your job to the way everybody else sees it is your job is to annoy the shit out of everybody.
Yeah, the people listening to the show don't know this. But
no, they know. They've heard all 60 episodes.
What I'm saying about this show is I bugged KOOGE. I was bombing him with questions. I was trying to break his matrix days before we recorded this.
Oh yeah.
I was preparing him for. When you get on here, we're gonna throw you some wild pitches.
KOOGE likes that stuff, though.
Yeah, so he was ready.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's it for this time. Until next week, when we're back with another episode of Film Reverie, go make something. And Brad always likes to take us out by saying,
"The end."
And cut. Film Reverie Podcast is a production of Super Mega Ultra Entertainment and is produced by Michael Beckemeyer and Bradley Kingston. If you're enjoying this podcast, please be sure to leave us a 5-star review in iTunes. And visit filmreverie.com to listen to past episodes, and be sure to click like or subscribe wherever you find us. That's it for this time. We'll see you again next week with another episode of Film Reverie.